OutDaughtered, star Danielle Busby feels broken as husband Adam reveals why he hid postpartum depression from her. When people think about the Busby family from OutDaughtered, the first images that usually come to mind are chaos mixed with laughter, 5 identical little girls running around, one big sister trying to keep up, and 2 parents doing their best to hold everything together on camera. For years, Danielle and Adam Busby have been seen as a symbol of resilience, teamwork, and love under pressure. But behind the smiles, the matching outfits, and the carefully captured family moments, there was a much quieter, much heavier story unfolding, one that wasn't easy to share, and even harder to live through. Danielle Busby has always been open about being strong. She had to be. Becoming a mother to quintuplets overnight is not something anyone can fully prepare for. Add a newborn daughter already in the family, medical complications, sleepless nights, constant doctor visits, and the pressure of public attention, and the weight becomes unimaginable. Yet for a long time, Danielle pushed forward, believing that strength meant continuing no matter how exhausted or overwhelmed she felt. What she didn't realize at first was that while she was struggling in her own way, her husband Adam was also fighting a silent battle, one he chose not to share with her. Adam Busby later revealed that he had been dealing with postpartum depression, something that many people still don't associate with fathers. And the reason he hid it from Danielle would eventually leave her feeling, in her own words, broken. Postpartum depression is often talked about as something that affects mothers, and rightfully so. Women go through massive physical, hormonal, emotional, and psychological changes after childbirth. But what often gets overlooked is that partners, especially fathers, can also experience intense emotional distress after a baby is born, particularly in high-stress situations like the Busbys. Adam's depression didn't appear out of nowhere. It grew slowly, quietly, feeding on pressure, fear, and the overwhelming responsibility of suddenly being responsible for 6 children. Adam later admitted that he felt like he had to be the strong one. He believed that Danielle was already carrying so much, recovering physically, managing the household, caring for the babies, that adding his emotional pain into the mix would only make things worse. So he made a decision that many people make when they're struggling. He kept it to himself. At the time, Adam thought he was protecting Danielle. He thought silence was an act of love. But silence, especially in a marriage, can slowly turn into distance. Danielle noticed changes in Adam before she ever knew the reason behind them. She noticed the emotional withdrawal, the lack of connection, the moments where he seemed physically present but emotionally somewhere else. And like many partners in that situation, SH began to internalize it. Danielle has shared that she started questioning herself. She wondered if she was doing something wrong. She questioned whether she was failing as a wife, as a partner, as someone Adam could lean on. When communication breaks down, it's easy for assumptions to take over, and those assumptions are rarely kind. For Danielle, the lack of honesty hurt deeply, not because Adam was struggling, but because he didn't feel he could share that struggle with her. When Adam finally opened up about his postpartum depression, the truth came with relief, but it also came with pain. Relief, because suddenly so many confusing moments made sense. Pain, because Danielle realized how alone Adam had felt and how alone she had felt without even knowing why. That realization is what she described as feeling broken. Feeling broken didn't mean Danielle stopped loving Adam. It didn't mean she blamed him entirely. What it meant was that she felt the fracture of trust that happens when 2 people who are supposed to carry burdens together end up carrying them separately. She felt broken because she believed marriage meant sharing the heavy things, not hiding them. Danielle has always been vocal about the importance of communication, especially in a family like theirs. With 6 children, life doesn't slow down. There is no pause button. And when emotional struggles are hidden, they don't disappear, they just grow in the dark. Adam's depression affected his energy, his motivation, and his sense of self. Danielle's emotional pain grew from confusion, exhaustion, and the feeling that she was somehow facing motherhood alone, even while married. What makes their story resonate with so many people is how real it is. There are countless couples who go through similar experiences, especially after the arrival of children. One partner struggles, the other struggles differently, and both assume they're protecting each other by staying silent. But protection through silence often leads to misunderstanding rather than safety. Adam explained that he felt ashamed. As a man, as a husband, as a father, he felt pressure to be unbreakable. He believed admitting depression would make him appear weak, especially when Danielle had physically gone through pregnancy and childbirth. He minimized his own pain, telling himself that what he was feeling didn't matter as much. That mindset is incredibly common and incredibly dangerous. When emotional pain is dismissed or buried, it doesn't go away, it leaks out in other ways. Adam's withdrawal wasn't intentional. It was a symptom of someone who didn't know how to ask for help. For Danielle, learning all of this was like seeing the past through a completely different lens. Moments that once felt personal suddenly felt tragic. She realized that Adam wasn't pulling away from her because he didn't care, he was pulling away because he was drowning. But understanding doesn't erase hurt. It coexists with it. Danielle's honesty about feeling broken is important because it shows that empathy doesn't cancel pain. You can understand why someone did something and still feel deeply wounded by it. And that's where real healing begins, not in pretending everything is fine, but in acknowledging that both people were hurt in different ways. The Busbys didn't present their story as a perfect resolution or a neatly wrapped lesson. They shared it as an ongoing process. Healing didn't happen overnight. Trust wasn't instantly restored the moment Adam spoke up. It took time, therapy, conversations, and a willingness to sit in uncomfortable emotions together. Danielle has spoken about how difficult it was to rebuild that emotional bridge. She had to relearn how to trust that Adam would come to her when things got heavy. Adam had to learn that being vulnerable didn't make him a burden, it made him a partner. Their experience also opened up conversations about mental health in parenthood, especially for fathers. Adam's willingness to talk openly about postpartum depression helped break a stigma that keeps many men silent. And Danielle's honesty about feeling broken gave voice to partners who have felt shut out, confused, and emotionally disconnected without knowing why. What makes their story powerful is not that they struggled, it's that they admitted it. Reality television often shows only highlights or controlled moments, but this was raw, uncomfortable, and deeply human. It reminded people that even families who appear strong can be fragile behind closed doors. Danielle has said that one of the hardest parts was realizing that love alone isn't always enough to protect a marriage. Love needs calm, communication. It needs honesty. It needs space for weakness. Without those things, even the strongest bond can start to crack. Adam, on the other hand, reflected on how fear guided his silence. Fear of being judged. Fear of adding stress. Fear of failing as a husband and father. But in trying to avoid failure, he unknowingly created distance. Their journey became a reminder that mental health struggles don't follow rules. They don't wait for convenient moments. They don't care how capable or loving someone appears. And they don't only affect the person experiencing them, they ripple outward, touching everyone connected to them. Danielle's feeling of being broken wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of emotional honesty. She allowed herself to say, out loud, that this hurt her deeply. And by doing so, she made space for real healing rather than surface-level reassurance. Over time, the Busbys worked toward rebuilding not just their marriage, but their understanding of each other. They learned that strength doesn't mean silence. It means showing up, even when it's messy, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it feels risky. Their story also highlights how postpartum life is not just about babies, it's about identity. Danielle had to navigate being a mother of 6 while managing her own health. Adam had to navigate becoming a father to 5 newborns while feeling like he was losing himself. Both were grieving versions of themselves they no longer recognized. When Adam finally shared his depression openly, it wasn't just a confession, it was an invitation. An invitation to face the reality together instead of separately. And while that invitation came late, it still mattered. Danielle's reflection on feeling broken has helped many people feel seen. It gave words to a kind of pain that often gets dismissed, the pain of being shut out emotionally by someone you love. And Adam's honesty gave permission to other fathers to acknowledge that they, too, can struggle. The Busbys didn't frame their experience as a cautionary tale or a moral lesson. They framed it as life complicated, imperfect, and deeply human. Their willingness to speak about mental health, marriage strain, and emotional vulnerability has added depth to their public image and meaning to their story. In the end, what stands out most isn't the pain, it's the growth. Growth that came from difficult conversations. Growth that came from admitting mistakes. Growth that came from choosing honesty over fear. Danielle no longer hides the fact that she felt broken. Adam no longer hides the fact that he was depressed. And together, they show that healing doesn't mean pretending the cracks never existed, it means learning how to strengthen what was fractured. Their journey reminds us that behind every smiling family photo, there may be a story we don't see. And that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do isn't holding everything together, but admitting when they can't. After Adam opened up about his postpartum depression, the Busby's journey of healing and understanding took on a new rhythm. Suddenly, conversations that had once been avoided became essential. They learned to pause amid the chaos of 6 daughters, deadlines, school runs, and the constant whirlwind of family life, just to check in with each other. It was not easy. Old habits die hard. For years, Adam had buried his feelings under smiles, routines, and the pressure of being strong, while Danielle had focused entirely on keeping her family afloat. Now, they were trying to rebuild the bridge between their hearts that silence had quietly eroded. Danielle admits that the first few weeks were the hardest. Every little comment, every slight withdrawal, made her question whether she had missed warning signs for years. She remembered moments when Adam seemed unusually quiet or distant and replayed them in her mind. Why didn't she notice? Why hadn't she asked? She felt broken, but slowly, she realized that these feelings of guilt were not a sign of failure, they were a sign of love. They were proof that she cared deeply enough to be affected by her partner's pain. That self-awareness became the first step toward empathy. For Adam, the journey was equally revealing. He had always believed that showing vulnerability was a risk. He feared judgment, he feared disappointment, and he feared making Danielle's life harder when she was already overwhelmed. But sharing his experience with her opened a floodgate of emotions he had kept hidden for years. Fear gave way to relief. Anxiety gave way to connection. He discovered that his wife's love was not conditional on his strength, it was conditional on honesty. And that realization was both humbling and transformative. The Busbys began attending therapy together and separately. For Danielle, therapy offered a safe space to voice frustrations, fears, and insecurities she had carried silently. It allowed her to explore what broken really meant and how guilt and love often coexist. She realized that being a mother to quintuplets and a partner in a large family doesn't erase her own needs. It doesn't erase the importance of self-care or emotional availability. Therapy helped her see that her feelings were valid, even if life had forced her to put them on hold. Adam's therapy sessions were equally transformative. He learned that postpartum depression doesn't define a person. It is not a reflection of weakness or failure. It is a medical and emotional reality that can happen to anyone, including fathers. By learning to identify triggers, process emotions, and communicate openly, Adam discovered that strength lies not in stoicism, but in connection. He realized that hiding his pain had not protected anyone, it had only created distance and misunderstanding. Together, Danielle and Adam also began creating routines that allowed space for emotional connection. They scheduled time for conversations, sometimes brief, sometimes long, but always intentional. They practiced asking each other how they were really feeling, not just in passing but with curiosity and attention. They celebrated the small victories, a day when Adam felt genuinely happy, a moment when Danielle laughed without exhaustion weighing on her. These moments became proof that healing was possible, even amid the chaos of everyday life. Their story resonated with fans because it reflected the reality that love is not always perfect and parenting is rarely easy. Many followers shared similar experiences, revealing that mental health struggles, especially those of fathers, often go unnoticed. Some fathers admitted they had hidden feelings of sadness, anxiety, or depression, fearing that society or even their families would see them as weak. Mothers, in turn, shared that they had often assumed that because their partners seemed fine, they were truly okay. Danielle and Adam's transparency shined a light on a conversation many families were not having. Danielle also emphasized that feeling broken does not mean hopeless. She explained that acknowledging pain, whether one's own or a partner's, is the first step toward healing. When she felt broken after learning about Adam's depression, she had a choice: to let guilt consume her or to use it as a tool to understand, empathize, and rebuild trust. She chose the latter. By doing so, she modeled an important lesson for her children: that emotions are real, that struggles are normal, and that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but of courage. Adam's public revelation also sparked conversations about redefining masculinity and fatherhood. For too long, men have been taught that emotional vulnerability is unacceptable. Adam challenged that narrative by sharing his story openly, showing that fathers can and should talk about their mental health. His journey highlighted that a father's emotional presence is just as vital as his physical or financial support. By leaning into vulnerability, he demonstrated to fans and to his own daughters the power of honesty and empathy. As the family continued to navigate life together, Danielle noticed subtle yet profound changes in their dynamic. Adam became more present emotionally, more willing to share struggles, and more confident in seeking support. Danielle, in turn, felt less isolated in her own challenges. They discovered that mutual vulnerability strengthened their bond far more than stoicism ever could. This shared honesty became the foundation for a deeper, more resilient marriage. The Busby story also reminds viewers that mental health is not linear. Some days are better than others. Some moments feel overwhelming. But acknowledging emotions, seeking support, and maintaining open communication can make the journey manageable. Danielle and Adam are living proof that couples can emerge stronger from emotional struggles when they face them together. For Danielle, the feeling of being broken has transformed from a source of shame into a catalyst for growth. She has learned to honor her own needs, to recognize signs of emotional distress in others, and to cultivate compassion. She has also embraced the reality that healing takes time, and that both she and Adam deserve patience from each other and themselves. Adam, meanwhile, has discovered the strength in openness. He has seen that sharing his story does not diminish his role as a father or husband. Rather, it enhances it. His honesty has helped dismantle stigma around men's mental health and inspired countless families to speak more freely about their own experiences. Ultimately, the Busby's journey is a testament to the power of love, communication, and resilience. It shows that even in families that appear perfect on the outside, struggles can exist beneath the surface. What matters is how those struggles are met with honesty, empathy, and a commitment to understanding one another. Danielle and Adam's experience also underscores a critical message: parenting and marriage are collaborative journeys. One partner's pain inevitably affects the other. By acknowledging that reality, the Busbys have strengthened their partnership, creating a home where emotional presence is as valued as physical presence. As Danielle reflects on her journey, she emphasizes that feeling broken is not a verdict. It is a moment of clarity. It is a recognition that something needs attention, care, and understanding. And through patience, love, and open dialogue, brokenness can transform into resilience, vulnerability can become strength, and hidden pain can give way to profound connection. For fans of OutDaughtered, the Busby story offers a deeply human lesson: that family life is rarely perfect, that mental health struggles can touch anyone, and that healing is possible when honesty and empathy lead the way. Danielle's honesty about feeling broken and Adam's courage in sharing his postpartum depression serve as powerful reminders that love is strengthened not by perfection, but by authenticity. As the Busbys continue their journey, they are redefining what it means to be a strong couple, a loving parent, and a supportive partner. Their story is not just about pain, it is about hope, resilience, and the transformative power of being seen, truly seen, by the person you love most. And while the chaos of their household continues, school drop-offs, birthday parties, homework, dance recitals, and endless laughter, the Busbys now navigate it with a new understanding. They know that it's okay to struggle, it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to feel broken, because those moments are often where the deepest healing begins. In facing their struggles together, Danielle and Adam have shown that love is not about avoiding pain, but about walking through it hand in hand.